Hi everybody, good morning, very good to see you all here. So I'm going to spend 20 minutes, and I'm going to start my stopwatch to make sure it is only 20 minutes, to give you an update about CARMA, the activities, but I'm actually going to start with a little bit of I suppose looking back as far as recognising and understanding what is cellular agriculture. So, as you've just heard from Gary, we are a sustainable manufacturing hub for cellular agriculture. And we take the definition of cellular agriculture as that from New Harvest in 2015, which actually is the bottom one here on this slide. I've got a pointer. Yeah, okay. But actually, I think what's important to note that it covers both precision fermentation and tissue engineering. And so you have your microorganisms, yeast, mycelium, algae, and then you have animal and plant cells, which is the tissue engineering aspect. And cellular agriculture, as far as that New Harvest definition is concerned, brings all of those technologies together. So these slides are going to be available, and I've added on here, actually, I hope you'll find this a useful tool after this event, but I've added onto here some different definitions. And I think this just speaks to the fact that we are still in a new industry and we are still without standards, even definitions. So I think just to highlight the importance of organisations like CARMA and others who can help really align the industry in terms of what we are and therefore the direction that we're going collectively. But let's talk a little bit about what we are doing as CARMA. And if we take our starting microorganisms, or essentially muscle cells for cultivated meat and yeast for alternative palm oil, that you can, in theory, have circularity between them. You can expand that to algae, and you can imagine you could end up quite quickly with quite a big ecosystem of different types of microorganisms. But it's also important to remember that traditional agriculture, already utilises circularity, as simple as taking manure from livestock, using it to fertilise land to grow plants, which are then eaten by ourselves and also our pets. And so what we're thinking about doing is diversifying that circularity so that we can address issues around food security and climate change. And there may even be non-food products as well. Leather is one that has been talked about for a number of years, but there may be others as well. So CARMA is focused on food, but that circularity can be much broader, like agriculture products currently are. But it's not just actually the point of production that we need to be thinking about. You could have the most sustainable production facility, utilising taking both tissue engineering and precision fermentation and combining them for circularity. It goes beyond that, and it goes around the supply chain as well, which has to be sustainable, but also ethical, robust, and acceptable for those who will be eating the products that we are making. So in terms of where all the different components come from, the cells are coming from the animals and fish, but media comes from many different sources, and I'll talk in a minute a little bit about how we are looking at those feedstocks and scaffolds as well. So we have a complex system, and CARMA is starting essentially, as I said, with the precision fermentation for alternative palm oil and cultivated meat, but you can see we have a lot of complexity in our industry that we need to address for true net zero and sustainable systems. So it's when we're talking about ethical and acceptable supply chains, we need to be thinking about the fact that while yes, CARMA is UK based, cellular agriculture is an international industry, and what those products look like, what those processes look like, and what the food itself looks like will differ depending on where it is being made in the world and perhaps where it's being shipped to. So this is really just to highlight that we're a UK hub and spoke system, but we also have international reach. I'd just like to highlight some work that happened before CARMA, and this was it was a BBSRC Transforming Food Systems project run by the Royal Ag, and those conversations with farmers around the UK have really influenced actually what we're doing in CARMA. And so you'll hear a bit more from Atenjung later on. I'll do a little update on the work package that he leads. But it's really important to recognise that what we're doing in CARMA is the technical aspect interlinked, completely combined with the social aspect as well. And very thankful for to the EPSRC for recognising the need for that and essentially investing in the work to achieve that. And they have a lovely online brochure about the work they did. I do recommend looking at that. So I just want to summarise from the perspective of CARMA, cellular agriculture. And if you look at the industrial strategy and you look at advanced manufacturing, CARMA, like our sister hub, the VAX hub, we were both funded at the same time as sustainable manufacturing hubs. So vaccines right now are in a really exciting period for manufacturing, and cellular agriculture has the potential to have that same level of excitement and benefit to UK PLC and beyond. So what we are trying to achieve is to be a key part of that transition to more environmentally, economically and socially sustainable systems for a resilient, productive and globally competitive agri-tech sector. And I've talked about diversification, but also recognising that we can build these systems anywhere and we can add value to the agricultural systems that are already in place. So there are a lot of challenges, and these have evolved somewhat since CARMA came into being. I'm just going to pick up on a few of these. I think they're hopefully useful and interesting to put into context the rest of the day. I'm just going to pick a couple. So the first one I've put on here. There's actually a lack of food expertise in deep biotech companies. This is something we hear quite a lot from stakeholders in food industries. And what's really important for the success of our industry is to bring that food expertise in. So I think this is happening more in precision fermentation. Tissue engineering for cultivated foods is a little bit behind on that. That is essential to make sure that the processes and products we are designing are fit for purpose. And a huge part of that links to what CARMA is doing alongside the research. And that is training and supporting a workforce who have the skills to work in deep biotech for food. But I think from the opportunities, because of that deep biotech background from other applications, there's a lot we can learn from what has already been done and apply that to food systems. And CARMA isn't the only publicly funded consortia now. So what we are seeing is more funding into the UK, which is really, really good. And as I've just said, EPSRC and others are willing to fund that transdisciplinary work. And we are seeing that training programs are growing fast, and not just in the UK, across Europe in particular. There is huge growth in training programs for graduates and postgraduates. So if we just take a look at our vision and mission, and just to pull into focus the circularity I've spoken about. So I'm not going to talk about it today, but there is something called the triple bottom line, and it is one framework where you can think about how we achieve sustainability, economic success for a socially appropriate product. So ultimately working to deliver human needs within ecological constraints. And you can see here the structure of CARMA. We have precision fermentation and tissue engineering. We have feedstocks, feeding into those, and then separation and purification with the public and policy engagement around the outside. And then right around the outside is the environment, is the sustainable supply chain and life cycle analysis. So the format, just as a reminder, is that we're funded from 2023 to 2030 with 12 million from the EPSRC, and it's the hub and spoke model. We have 6 work packages. across 6 universities with a view to be adding 2 to 4 more spokes, so basically 2 to 4 more universities in the next couple of years. We currently have 16 industry or broader stakeholder partners, 20 members of the Citizens Forum, and I hope that 2 of our Citizens Forum members are here today, and currently 21 members of the Stakeholder Forum, set to grow up to 50. That Stakeholder Forum, it's not the same people as the industry partners, so they are stakeholders, but they're somewhat independent to the research that's going on. We now are at nearly full capacity, have a few PhD students still to recruit, but ultimately we have a wide range of academics and researchers who are working together on this, as well as our industry partners. So I'm going to spend a couple minutes talking about some of the underpinning ways of working for CARMA, because this will really feed into, I believe, the success of CARMA and the industry. So first of all, let's think about culture. And what we have, you've just seen a big table of a lot of people and a big table of a lot of individuals. And we all know that what we see of an individual is a fairly small piece, whatever we decide to bring to work. But there's a lot more to everybody. And what we need to do is to work together as different people to achieve the same goal. So this kind of represents what we're doing. You've got all the individuals in CARMA coming together, doing their research, working together, doing things outside of work, but working towards that same goal. And this is, we hope, more like industry and a little bit less like traditional academia, where you can have individual projects where people deliver on their projects, but spend less time working together until you get to industry. And actually what's important in industry is that sometimes your success is somebody else's success. So how we integrate together is a really important part of our personal and professional development program. So we are basically working towards confident collaborators. Some of that work will be alongside the other large centres around the country, so NAPIC, Bezos and Microbial Hub, so that we can deliver training more broadly. And so we have our own programme as well. And just to highlight something that might be of interest to other organisations in the room, that we are about to launch what's called Culture Plus. So this is Royal Academy of Engineering worked with Honeycomb Works to deliver this training tool to improve inclusivity within an organisation. And we are a sustainable manufacturing hub. That sustainability is not just about the research we do, it's about how we work. So just 3 examples here. We have, so the UCL LEAF programme, so all of our sites have at least bronze, but many have already gold and silver, others working towards gold. Our due diligence, for the industry partners will know this already, also includes sustainability queries. And with our sister hub, VAX Hub, we are planning essentially a workshop looking at research from the perspective of doing sustainable research in the spring. Okay, so next I'm going to give you some updates. So Gary's reminded you about the fact that we're basically across 2 grand challenges. So for those with very good eyesight, you might be able to see some stars on here, which in 2020, well actually in 2022 when we wrote this grant, were the key areas that we were focusing on. And I would pretty much stick with that. So I think the one thing I might add is water recycling has recently added a star and downstream processing as well. So it seems at the moment we are fairly unique with the critical mass that we have on downstream processing for cellular agriculture. So just I'm going to do some brief updates on the work packages. Work package 1 is looking at upstream technology, and for precision fermentation, they have managed to do some retrofitting of the pilot facility at Bath to reduce energy costs and improve oxygenation for oil producing yeasts. And also at UCL, looking at adaptogenic differentiation in small reactors as well. So essentially we've got focus on precision fermentation, production, we've got bioreactor, novel design at Bath as well, and then at UCL mainly focusing on process intensification. Work package 2, say downstream processing. So it turns out there's not huge amounts of downstream processing information out there at the moment, and so some very nice papers being submitted just as a review for this field. But ultimately what we're looking at here is taking the, say the cultivated meat reactor, taking the spent media, putting it into what is as yet a black box, but by 2030 it'll be a very, very fancy black box. Separating out some of those components to go to precision fermentation, some to be recovered, including water. Work package 3, I mentioned about the importance of supply chains and feedstocks, and work package 3 focuses on feedstocks, mainly on cells at the moment, but also on media, because obviously they are interlinked. And actually, there's a lot of work with 3 of our industry partners, Hakukain, Camden BRI, L4 actually, Maltus and Valigen. So some really interesting work around media, but what is the main focus here at the moment really is looking at cell options and the potential for bovine satellite cells based on their breed characteristics. Work package 4 is the supply chains, and there's a large piece here looking at the life cycle analysis of, at the moment, cultivated meat, with a view to start looking at precision fermentation with one of those new PhD students coming in. Already for CARMA members, there is an open access tool where inputs are being added and that information is being used by the researchers to build that life cycle analysis, which will then feed into how we select the technologies for that circularity. For work package 5, so understanding and influencing social science issues of cell algal, I would say the work at the moment is very much around informing and not influencing. So the work of Neil Stevens and Lenza is very much about informing, and that is informing us as CARMA, but also other stakeholders. So there's a lot of engagement going on, and Neil has been very busy doing interviews with stakeholders, but also looking at the media in terms of the press, not cell culture media, analysis for our industry as well. And work package 6, our final work package is engaging publics and policy. So this is essentially the work from Royal Ag, where the main piece is the stakeholder forum and the citizens forums, and already that is influencing the technical work, and in particular it's had a big impact on work package 3, directing our thoughts around cell sourcing and media sourcing. So that's a quick overview and some thoughts about where we are as CARMA and the industry. So in terms of getting involved, we have our second round of pump priming happening. So there's 3 calls, so that's £600,000 runs across the 3 calls. You can see at the bottom of the slide the 4 successful projects from our first round. And as of now, that pump priming call is open and will close in November. So this isn't with a view to extend the academic work, but we are very keen for new non-academic partners to become involved in that. As I said, we'll make these slides available, but also on our website you can click through to the application form should you be interested in applying, and do come and speak to us about it as well. Otherwise, this is really this slide really aimed at our stakeholder guests today. Have a conversation. So there's a good number of people here to be able to get around and talk to most people. Have those preliminary conversations without NDA, as we all have at a conference. But if you would like to start working with us, we can very quickly get NDAs and MTAs set up so that you can start doing work knowing that you have that kind of safety net around the work that you want to do with individual researchers. And if you enjoy working with us, then you can sign up as a full partner.